Biggest production of all.
Columbus Day there. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Thanksgiving in Canada is always this time of year because it's in line with the harvest. We're grateful for everything that we've created, and in Canada that's a lot to be grateful for because there's a lot of places in Canada we have a hard time growing things, but I think it's been a pretty good year here for crops and what have you. But it's just a time to reflect on family, and we're having a little bit of a different Thanksgiving this year. We've had some family changes, but that's okay. Life is good. Life is good. Yeah, you guys have Thanksgiving in November when it's really cold, and your Thanksgiving is a total different type of celebration than ours. And in Canada, it's simply to be grateful for the harvest. It's that's what it was all about. We had Thanksgiving, and you have family together, and you have the harvest, right? Hey Julie, great to see you today. So I'm not sure what page you're on the PDF in the book. I'm on page 31. We're on chapter 2, and quite a few pages in. So we're 10, 11 pages in, and we have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, we're probably a couple days to finish this chapter. Mind Stuff Experiments. This is I'm really enjoying this book, and I hope you are too. Today is Thanksgiving. I decided to have the call because I'm always here anyways, but we're not having our Monday night call because we're going to be out having a Thanksgiving dinner, and I really look forward to that. It's always a fun time. So, lots of fun things today. Now, where are we? Talking about mind stuff experiments. It says, when we realize that our nervous system is reached only through vibration, in other words, that our 5 known and defined senses record seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling by means of the vibrations given off by the external things themselves, we get a better understanding of the nature of vibrations. For example, we hear a loud noise. It comes to us via the sound vibration. We see a green leaf, but is merely the color vibration as gathered by the eyes and later transmitted to the brain. There are, however, many vibrations which are pitched at a much greater frequency than our 5 senses are attuned to, and of which we never have any conscious knowledge. By way of illustration, there is a dog whistle pitched so high that only a dog can hear it. Just want to get back to our page here. We've all heard of the power of the laying of the hands. Most of us know how soothing hands stroking our temples can lessen the intensity of a headache. Can this be due to some form of electrical energy flowing from our finger ends? The Bible tells of numerous instances where healing was accomplished by the touch of Jesus' hand. Does the explanation lie in this little-known field of electricity, the science of vibration? And does this electrical atmosphere, which Dr. Burr claims is of our own making, and which surrounds all living things, enable us to cause certain impulses to pour forth literally from our fingers or from our minds? Vibratory forces that can act upon others and upon so-called material objects. All persons living in high altitudes have felt and sometimes observed the electric spark resulting from walking across the room and then touching some metallic substance. That, of course, is a form of static electricity generated by friction. But it gives an idea of how one kind of electricity can be developed through the body. Among pictures descriptive of the experiments of Yale investigators is one showing that when intact forefingers, that is, without cuts or other injuries, were dipped in saltwater cups connected with a galvanometer, there was a flow of electricity between the positive left hand and the negative right hand, measuring 1.5 millivolts. In another picture 2 middle fingers, one with a slight cut at the tip, were partially immersed in the cups, but this time the polarity of the hands changed, the left hand changing from positive to negative, and the right becoming positive, with the current stepping up to 12 millivolts. As I looked at those pictures, I recalled an instrument known as a biometer, perfected many years ago by a French scientist, Dr. Baraduc, consisting of a bell-shaped glass in which was suspended a copper needle fastened to a fine silk thread below the needle, but inside the glass was a circular piece of cardboard marked off into degrees. 2 of these instruments were placed side by side, and the fingers of both hands of the operator were held within half an inch of the glasses, his mind concentrated on a delicately balanced needle. By changing his mental attitude or the polarity of his thinking, the operator could cause corresponding changes in the direction of the needle. Now in one direction and now in another, the needle following absolutely his changing directive thought currents. Here is the simple experiment embodying simple principles. Take a piece of medium weight paper, about 3 inches square, and fold it diagonally from corner to corner. Then open it and make another diagonal fold so that there will be 2 folds or creases forming intersecting diagonals. Again, open the paper, which will now present the appearance of low, partially flattened out pyramid. Now take a long needle and force it through the cork so that the point extends an inch or so above the top of the cork. Place the cork with its needle point up on top of an inverted glass of water so that there may be free movement of both hands on the paper, which is to revolve on the needle point. Then take the piece of paper and balance it where the creases intersect on the point of the needle, placing it so that the 4 sides of the pyramid point downward. This sounds like quite the experiment. Place the glass with the cork needle and paper on a table or desk in a room free from drafts, keeping away from heat registers or windows, thus avoiding possible heat waves or air currents. Then place the hands around the piece of paper in a semi-cupped position, keeping the hands or fingers a half inch or so away from the paper, so that it may revolve freely. Now order it to revolve upon the needle point. At first it will wobble, perhaps revolving slowly at first and in one direction or another, but if your hands remain steady and you concentrate on a certain direction of the movement, the paper will revolve until it turns rapidly upon the needle. If you mentally order a change in direction, the one-way movement will cease and the paper will start revolving in the opposite direction. Of course, it is essential that you do not breathe or exhale in the direction of the paper. Many explanations of what causes the paper to revolve have been offered, such as heat waves from the hands, a body reflex of some kind, and the like. If the paper revolved in only one direction, that one of these explanations could be accepted but when a person with a little practice and confidence and concentrated thinking can cause the paper to revolve first in one direction and then in another by reversing the polarity of his thinking, it is very clear that the principle is the same as that which governs the experiments with the biometer. In carrying out another simple experiment, a small disc of cardboard known as the dialite, bearing the facsimile of the face of a clock with numbers from 1 to 12 is used. This is better known as a Rosicrucian dialite and is issued by a Mork Rosicrucian Brotherhood. A sharp needle is passed through its center, and on top of it is balanced a sliver of thin cardboard, fashioned in the shape of an arrow. The disc is placed on top of the glass filled with water, in which the lower part of the needle is submerged. The operator places his hands around the top of the glass, the disc, and arrow, and then orders the arrow to revolve, change its position, or stop at any desired position or number. However, it must be recognized in all these experiments that not everyone can immediately get satisfactory results, because the power of the mind, or thought concentration and projective influences, varies in individuals. Kind of sounds like playing with a Ouija board, doesn't it? You guys familiar with Ouija boards? Ever play with them as kids? Pretty powerful, huh? If there is a form of electricity which emanates from our hands or fingers in particular, and if there are waves, either dynamic or magnetic, caused by vibrations set up either consciously or unconsciously by our thinking, do we not then have an explanation of table lifting, automatic writing, the performances of the planchette or Ouija board? My, that's funny. And many of the mediumistic or occult operations? Now that the Yale experimenters have concluded that all living things are surrounded by an electrical atmosphere of their own making, and the Duke experimenters are still exploring the field for further proof that thought or some similar force can affect material objects, we are beginning to receive verification of the idea expressed by Dr. Philip Thomas, research engineer for the Westinghouse Electric Company. In 1937, according to newspaper dispatches, Dr. Thomas told the Utah session of the American Electrical Institute, "We feel certain that whatever we do, say, or think is accomplished by some type of radiation. We think such radiations are electricity. In the near future, we may be able to capture and interpret these radiations of personality and thought through electrical impulses. Prospects of an early solution are bright." Since some of my readers may not have a clear understanding of the radiation of thought, I offer a simple explanation. A pebble tossed into a pond, immediately upon striking the surface of the water, sets up a series of ripples, or small waves, which spread out circle-like and ultimately reach the shoreline, where they appear to stop. The larger the pebble, the higher the waves. Two stones of different sizes and weights tossed in simultaneously at different places but in close proximity will both set up a series of waves converging upon each other. Where the two sets meet, there appears to be a struggle as to which is to overcome or pass the other. As far as our physical vision is concerned, if the waves are of the same size, both seem to stop or merge at their meeting point. But if one is larger than the other, the larger sweeps over the smaller and creates waves in the wake of the smaller ripples. Think about this in connection with your own mental impulses. For example, how thoughts of one nature stop or overwhelm others. And you readily appreciate how the more powerful or concentrated the thought, the quicker its tempo, the greater its vibration, the more it sweeps aside the weaker vibrations, the more rapidly it does its creative work. Are you guys really understanding what we're talking about here? That thoughts are vibrations. That we are emitting vibrations. We're emitting energy. We're emitting electricity. Everything you look at, everything you see is a vibration. Nothing is solid. It might look solid, but it's not. And as we practice more and more thinking, then we are able to really control that, and we're able to move things. It's like the books we were reading, I don't have them here right now, they're in the other room, but E squared and E cubed. Do you remember those? I'm not sure if you were here for those, Carl, but E cubed and E squared were pretty phenomenal books, and they had experiments in them. And some of them were pretty fun. Let's keep reading. We hear and read much about various stages of thought, degrees of consciousness, thought concentration, the strength of our faith, all of which deals with the intensity or the degree of power we send forth. Creative force comes only when there is a completely rounded out thought, when there is a fully developed mental picture, or when the imagination can fully realize, fully visualize the fulfillment of our ambition and see in our mind a picture of the object we desire, a house, a car, a radio, etc., just as if we already possessed them. Visualization, seeing it so clear in your mind that it has to manifest. As a result of my studies of the so-called mystic teachings, the various mental sciences, and the regular Orthodox Church teachings, I am convinced that they all work in varying degrees, but only to the extent that their followers believe. So it is with prayer, whether it be a part of a church service or the purely spontaneous and personal supplication of the individual. That sounds familiar, eh, Claudia? What he's talking about here is that whether you go into the mystic sciences and the woo-ha-ha stuff, or you're following, the Bible or the followings of some particular church, it's all the same thing. Prayer is a form of attaching to our vibration. If we're saying a prayer and we're in a very upset state, our prayer is not going to be addressed the way we want it to be addressed. So we have to say prayer from love. That's why we talk about everything as coming from a point of love. However, I am forced to the conclusion that many people go through the lip service act of saying their prayers without the slightest belief that those prayers will be answered. And isn't that what this is all about? It's about what you believe in. If you believe it's true, it is. Consequently, they're not answered. I'm frequently reminded of the story of the old lady who, professing a belief in prayer, undertook to go shopping. The day before, she prayed that on her shopping day the sun would shine, but upon completion of her prayer, she glanced out the window, saw some black clouds, and instantly declared, "But I know it's going to rain." In the late fall of 1944, the Saturday Review of Literature, which doesn't go in for hocus pocus, contained an article by Thomas Sugrue. He declared that the mind cure movement had grown so rapidly that it was now encountered everywhere. He cited several cases in which both men and women had secured phenomenal results. One woman, who at 62 had been partially crippled and whose fingers were bent with arthritis, had taken upon a system of yogi breathing and had entirely recovered from her physical ailments. Mr. Sugrue declared that after her restoration to health, she was adjudged by those who saw her to be about 40. Another woman achieved excellent results under an occult system of metaphysics, and guesses as to her age were 15 years under her real age. He told also of a retired missionary who for the past 12 years had experimented with psychic phenomena and had obtained most startling results. We can only come to one conclusion, and that is that all the systems, creeds, and cults work as a result of the firm beliefs of the individual. And that brings us to the magic of believing, and I think we'll finish there for today. Tomorrow we'll pick up with Sigmund Freud. So are you starting to understand that whatever you believe to be true is true for you? And a belief is just a thought you keep thinking, and so if the beliefs that you are attached to are not serving you, and not all beliefs serve you, would you guys agree that maybe you have beliefs that are not serving you? And so we really have to look at those. Are our beliefs serving us? Is what I believe making me feel good? Is it making me feel love? Maybe if it's not, I need to look at changing that belief a little bit. Does that make sense? A belief is a thought you keep thinking. And so if we want to change our beliefs, we simply change our thoughts. And whatever you believe, let's use Claudia as an example with her visualization, which I assume you're still doing, Claudia, because it only works if you do it. And she believed that it would work. Because she has seen evidence of these experiments, she knows that if she works on it, she knows full well that if she visualizes a certain thing, and if she visualizes it with a happy heart and with love, she believes it can come to pass. And she didn't go out there looking for evidence against it. It's magic. It's like magic, isn't it, Claudia? Doesn't it seem magical to you right now? I kind of skipped today's quote, Manifesting Monday. Everyone has a spirit that can be refined, a body that can be trained in some manner, a suitable path to follow. You are here to realize your inner divinity and manifest your innate enlightenment. Be enlightened today. Learn to enjoy this journey. Yesterday on Super Soul Sunday, I don't know if anybody watched it, and I don't know if you get the same show. Never sure if it's the same show getting played everywhere. Dr. Michael Beckwith was on with Oprah, and what a wonderful interview it was. What a wonderful interview. Yeah, for a while you were in a state of confusion, and being able to pull yourself out of that and see clear thought and understand that I'm just confused and here's what I want, and that's what I'm going to focus on. This is what I want. I want more of this. Yes, please. More of this. More of this. So what would you guys like to meditate to today, my friends? I'm going to pause the recording as we go into our meditation, and then I'll pick it up in 15 minutes. I remembered to turn the recording back on and everything. That was wonderful, wasn't it? I don't know, I just love listening to Esther's voice. And the music just puts me right into that rhythm immediately. Let's take a couple deep breaths and see if we can't raise our vibration just a little higher as we do our affirmation for the day. On the count of 3, we're going to take in a big breath, smile, and exhale on purpose. 1, 2, 3. Big breath in, big smile, and exhale on purpose. And one more time, big breath in, and smile and exhale on purpose. Oh yeah, it's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. At any moment of the day you can remember that it's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. Powerful words. We need to remember them. That's awesome. Awesome, Carl. Every time I hear them, there's something new that just reminds me of how wonderful life is. And I'm reading from our book, Day by Day with James Allen, and I opened it to today's message, and it says, live in the solution. Do you really understand what that means, to live in the solution? Dr. Beckwith talked a lot about that at length yesterday when he talked with Oprah. He even wrote down a few things. Pain pushes until the vision pulls. I thought that was very, very amazing. You cannot have what you are not willing to become vibrationally. You cannot have what you are not willing to become vibrationally. Say it again. You cannot have what you are not willing to become vibrationally. Live in the solution. A person cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so, indirectly, yet surely, shape his circumstances. In her outstanding book, Choose the Happiness Habit, Pam Golden writes, take the story of 2 brothers who are twins. One grows up to be an alcoholic bum. The other becomes an extremely successful businessman. When the alcoholic is asked why he became a drunk, he replies, "Well, my father was a drunk." When the successful businessman is asked why he became successful, he says, "My father was a drunk." Same background, same upbringing, very different choices. The brothers chose different thoughts about the identical experience. Those thoughts over the years shaped the circumstances they now find themselves in. There was a time in my life when I chose to think about challenges and obstacles as just more of the bad luck I seem to attract. Ever hear the expression, when it rains, it pours? That was my constant mantra when others asked me how things were going. So what do you think I got more of? If you answered rain, you're correct. Bob Proctor says, "You're either living in the problem or you're living in the solution." Now, when I'm confronted with what I used to think was a negative solution, I use a different thought process. I force myself to replace those negative thoughts that creep in with positive thoughts about how I might solve the problem. Sometimes I take a notepad and just start jotting down ideas that might be a solution. At the same time, my thoughts are focused on the possible lessons I might learn from the situation so that I might profit from the experience in the future. I want to repeat that. Focus your thoughts on the possible lessons that you can learn from a situation so that you can profit from the experience in the future. Does that make sense to you? Powerful words. Focus on the lesson that can be learned from the situation so that you may profit from it in the future. That's what learn by your mistakes actually means. Is so that you can take, and it's not even that we're making mistakes. I think we need to change those words. We're not making a mistake. We're having experiences. We don't know it's an experience we don't want to have until we have it. We don't know it's a quote-unquote mistake until we make it. If you guess that it doesn't rain as much in my life as it used to, you're correct again. In fact, most days it's a beautiful, cloudless, sunny day. And occasionally now I do get any rain, and it's good rain, the kind that makes living things grow. I remember a time in my life when I was a complainer. Get together with the ladies and have coffee and biscuits and whatever homemade goodies, and we'd sit around the table and we would complain. In fact, when I lived up in Fort Simpson, we had a group of women that met in the evenings. I'm pretty sure we met in the evenings as we left our kids at home, and we brought our crafts with us, and we called it a stitch and bitch. What do you think we did? We complained. We complained about everything that was wrong in our lives, things that were wrong in our marriages. It was like a group of people who could be open and honest with each other. But when I look back on it, I'm thinking we didn't do each other any favors. We didn't do each other any favors by even calling it a stitch and bitch club. Had we turned it into something positive, think of what we could have manifested. Claude says, "I'm feeling better about it. Rained this morning. I'm still in a good place." There you go. You don't want to be here. You want to here? I'll let you be a little jealous. Okay. I don't know if that'll show up there. Can you see that temperature? Did you see that temperature? And do you see what it says beside? Let me see if I can get it to clear. It says light snow, and do you see the temperature says 0 today? Our high is going to be 0, and the low today -9. Tomorrow, though, look at that sunshine tomorrow and the next day. Still cold, 2 degrees, but then 6. I think it's supposed to be 12 next week. It's October. 0 would be 32. Yes, Claudia. Freezing. -2 is cold. -9, even colder. -40 and -40 are the same. It's just cold. It's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. I can change my thought about the weather. I mean, when Bennett was here Friday and it started snowing, he wanted to go out. He didn't want his gloves on. He wanted to go out and touch the snow. He licked the snow. He put his face. There wasn't much snow, but he giggled. He was so excited to go out and see the snow. Now, why would a child be excited to go see the snow? He wanted to go play in the snow. Wasn't excited to be driving. I mean, the roads weren't the best. Today they're even worse because it melted and now everything froze. It'll warm up. As soon as it hits, it's still below 0 and it's still snowing. But as soon as there's traffic on the roads, they'll be fine. They'll just be, you have to drive carefully. That's all. That is the way it is. Alrighty, I'm going to wrap things up for today if you're okay with that. Unless anybody has a challenge, anything they need to work on today, any happiness ideas, anything you guys need help with. So I have an idea I want to run by you before we wrap up for the day. As you guys know, maybe I'll even find it. This is funny. There it is. Okay, as you guys know, I got my book started, right? So those are the titles of the chapters. So I just had an idea, like it just came to me. It's amazing what meditation does. When we're finished our Magic of Believing, I'm thinking, and we'll have to make sure we record it well. Oh my goodness, it'll be live on Facebook by then. I'm thinking that each day, one of these will be our subject. And I will talk about the subject and how, how that's a happy thing, and I'll tell stories about it, and it'll become my book. Yeah, Julia, we would love to have you come up and share with us. I don't know if you can from your phone. I'm not sure how that works. I think it does work. But if you want to, let me know. You started your new book. Awesome. That's awesome, Claudia. Yeah, but I'm thinking these would be, because these are simple things you can do to turn your happy buttons on. I haven't, simple things you can do to enter your haven't decided what that subtitle is going to be, but the first one is place happy things in every room of your house. I like that one. It's one of my favorite. I think it can change your life if you go around your house and put happy things everywhere in your house. Tomorrow is Tuesday. We will be here with bells on. Looking forward to it. Getting excited to have the new technology. It should be ready soon. Yes. So you have beach paintings everywhere. I love that. It just allows you to stop for a second, stop for a moment. And I hope you do, Claudia, that as you go around your house and you look at those paintings, that you stop for a moment and you visualize that. Close your eyes and put yourself in the painting. What a novel thing to do. Oh, I'd love to hear some of your inspirational music, Julie. We'll have to connect more, for sure. I would love to connect more. Well, guys, thank you for being here. I would love to hear some of your music. So we'll have to get you when you have, when you're able to take advantage of the technology. What will I send you off with today? Let me think. I guess I should turn off my recording, and I'll do that right away. And here's a little good vibrations for you. We'll see you guys. Oh, I'll look her up, Claudia. I'll get some Sheryl Crow for tomorrow, okay? I'll put it on my list. You've got it for tomorrow. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Biggest production of art.